Hi. My name is Grace Kamau, and I'm coming to you from Nairobi, and I'm happy that you have been able to make it here on time. So this is the first virtual series that we're doing in preparation to the conference, and that we are happy to have you here with us. I will allow Jacques to come on board.
Thank you, Grace.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon to some of you. Some of us it's late afternoon already. So once more, greetings from wherever you are joining us. And please, in the chat room, kindly keep telling us where you're joining us from and maybe greetings as well. So I just want to remind you that this session is going to be managed into two languages. So we'll have English and French. So if you're an English speaking person, so on your, or you're a French speaking person, so check at the bottom of your screen, and there is a button which is written interpretation. There you'll see options of the languages. So currently the session is running in English. So if you're French speaking, please choose French so you can follow the whole session in French. And if someone is going to talk in French, and remember to turn back to go to the language that is really working for you. So, and we want to thank our colleagues who are helping us with the support in the patient booth. So thank you, Cassandra, and Julie will be joining us together. So enjoy the session. Back to you, Grace.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Jonathan. Donc, juste pour nos amis francophones, si vous avez des difficultés pour suivre la session en anglais, donc vous avez l'interprétation qui est disponible pour vous. Donc, en-dessous de votre écran, vous avez le petit bouton là, là où c'est écrit interprétation. Donc, choisissez la langue qui vous convient. Donc, actuellement, la session sera à deux langues, donc l'anglais et le français. Et quand il y a quelqu'un change la langue, rappelez-vous de changer aussi dans la langue qui vous convient pour bien suivre la session. Très bonne session à tout le monde.
Great. Thank you, Jacques. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to wish you all a happy Saturday. I hope we are all feeling awake and energetic and enthusiastic, because the content of this session is really important for the upcoming conference and also for the upcoming Youth Forum in the Africa region. So the title of our session is Drafting Resolutions and Amendments. And while it may not always be the most exciting or interesting thing that first comes to our mind about a conference or youth forum, it is really, really important, a key factor. It's something that we really need to get right and consider ahead of time, because these are the things that make our decisions and our future in scouting possible. So as you can see, we have three presenters that will be taking you through the content of the session today. My name is Kathleen. I will be presenting some of the content, and we also have Baskura and Emma, who will be taking through some portions of the content as well, and you'll see them pop up on your screens and see their faces in a few moments' time.
Okay, thank you so much, Kathleen. I think before we dive into the content itself, let's cover some bit of preliminaries. So just in a moment, then we'll come back to the content. Okay, so I think two things before we go to the content. We'll get to hear from the chair of the Africa Scout Committee and the director in a few moments. We'll also get a few insights around safe from harm, and then we'll have some game before we get into the content-wise. So pretty much let me say welcome to all of us to this session, and feel free. I think as Catherine has already highlighted, this is critical for us coming to the conference to enable us really shape very good resolutions. So this is a very good session for us today. Let me welcome all of us. Let me introduce to us some of the guests we have with us today. We are honored to have in our midst here today the chairperson of the Africa Scout Committee, Victor Tipaga, who will be addressing us shortly. We also have the Regional Director, World Scout Bureau, Africa Support Center. We have a number of WOSM consultants, NSO leaders, and also we have a team of 3 very vibrant facilitators. We have Kathleen, who is the chair of the Youth Advisors to the Africa Scout Committee. We have Baskuda, who is one of our WOSM consultants. And then we have Emma, who is one of our colleagues from the World Scout Bureau Global Support Center. So they'll be joining us shortly just to share with us some of the moments. Yeah, so at this point, let me invite Kelvin just to share with us a bit of some message on Safe from Harm. So Kelvin, over to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good afternoon and good evening, friends, from wherever you're joining us from. This is just a reminder that this is a safe from harm environment. So as we will be engaging in this discussion, let us try to be respectful of others. Let us feel free to engage, but also consider it. If you look at the chat, I'll be dropping an email in case you have any issues regarding safe from harm in the course of this call, or maybe even later. Feel free to drop an email to that to the email that I've just dropped in the chat, which is safefromharm.africa@scouts.org. I will also be on the lookout just in the chats and in the engagements that will be going on. So just feel free, in case there is anything that comes up, you can also chat with me directly, and the issue will be resolved as fast as possible. Thank you, and back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much. I also recognize the presence of Ledet Solomon, a member of the Africa Scout Committee, who is also joining us, and I'm sure there are also other members who will be joining us as we go along. So just to set the tone for us, let me invite the chair of the Africa Scout Committee to give us some highlights on his impression, but also just to address us. And even as the chairman comes, I see Maman Lamin, a youth advisor to the World Scout Committee, also joining us. So welcome, Lamin. Over to you, Victor.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good afternoon to you all. I'm sending you warm and cold regards from Ghana. The weather today, it's in between, so I would say warm and cold. And I hope you all had a very good week, and a week that will give us a very fruitful Saturday. I want to first of all thank you for making time to be able to join this first of many series of calls leading to the regional conference and forum. As Kathleen put it in her initial remarks, this is just one of the many interactions we'll be having with NSO leadership and many of our scouts across the region in preparation for a very interactive and fruitful conference. I want to also send greetings to members of the regional team. Office, thank you for facilitating this exercise, and members of the committee, thank you for making time to join. Resolutions play a very key role in determining the outcomes of many of our engagements, especially for the policy level of such a high office of a regional conference. And it is very important that as leaders of our various National Scout organizations and National Scout associations, we are aware of the right processes and procedures in proposing and drafting these resolutions that would form basis for serious dialogue and discussions in plenary or on the floor of the conference, leading to key policy decisions that would govern our region for a point in time. And it is thus such a very necessary activity for us from the regional team to see to the importance of bringing many of the leaders together to understand how these are drafted, to understand how these are couched, and to give us a very good foundation that individually from our NSOs, we are able to prepare these resolutions in advance of the regional conference, such that when we are in Kenya in August, it becomes much more easier for us to go about these discussions. We have followed many of the zones in many of the forums and that have been organized, and we have accepted and that we have experienced a lot of weaknesses in terms of quality of framing these resolutions. And that is why it's important today that we have made time to be able to go through this exercise. And I'm just hopeful that this would be one of the very key learnings building towards the conference. So let us take a moment, let us get listening, let us ask as many questions as possible. And even if for the sake of time, we can follow up with the regional team to find out more on how these resolutions are couched to form a better basis towards the conference. I also want to urge you that as we get towards the conference, there would be a lot of opportunities to engage in terms of virtual interactions. Let us remember, international commissioners and chief commissioners should begin to use this as a very good platform to gather their delegates, for which we have already received the official delegates and observers from each national organization, to listen to these discussions, to prepare adequately and get ourselves very ready, such that when we meet in August, it becomes easier for us to talk through many of the decisions and discussions we have already started in advance towards the conference. I would wish all the facilitators a very good exercise. Let us have fun by learning the right way and to get our solutions rightly done. Thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of the day. Back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm not sure we have the RD here. I saw him, but since he has dropped off, Fred. But whenever he comes in, we'll give him an opportunity to share with us. Yeah. For now, time for a quick quiz to jog our memories and our minds. So let me rope in Maurice for this. Maurice. Okay, so there you go with the first question. Which edition of the Africa Scout Conference will be held in Nairobi in August 2022? Is it 18th, 17th, 19th? And the poll ends in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And 87% of us are correct. This will be the 18th Africa Scout Conference. To the next question. Who is the current chairperson of the Africa Scout Committee? Is it Victor Atipaga? Is it Professor Maggie Kigozi? Or is it Frederick Kamakama? Who is the current chairperson of the Africa Scout Committee? And we end in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And a clue to all of us, he just spoke a few seconds ago, and the current chair is Victor Atipaga, and 89% of us are correct. On to the next question. What are the dates of the 18th Africa Scout Conference? What are the dates of the 18th Africa Scout Conference? Is it 21st, 23rd August? Is it 25th, 28th August? Or is it 19th, 21st August, 2022? What are the dates of the conference, 18th Africa Scout Conference? And the poll ends in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 95% of us are correct. The conference will take place from the 25th to the 28th of August, 2022. The first date, that is 21st, 23rd, is the date for the Youth Forum. To the next question. Which city hosted the 17th Africa Scout Conference? Which city hosted the 17th Africa Scout Conference? Was it Cairo? Was it Harare? Or was it Kampala? Which city hosted the 17th Africa Scout Conference in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 85% of us are correct. The conference took place in Harare, Zimbabwe in the year 2018. To the next question. Okay, what is the maximum number of delegates an NSO can send to the Africa Scout Conference? What is the maximum number of delegates an NSO can send to the Africa Scout Conference? Is it 5? Is it 6? Or is it 7? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is 6 is the maximum number of delegates an NSO can send to the Africa Scout Conference. Yes, so I think this marks, I want to believe this marks the first part. I will come back again. Or do we have the last question, Maurice? Okay, I want to believe this marks the first part. Yeah, this marks the end of the first part of the quiz. We'll come back again at the tail end of this call with the next round. And I saw we have the regional director in, so let me invite him just to pass his greetings and say one or two things to the participants. Over to you, Fred.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm sorry if I disappeared. I tried to connect with the computer. I think I was in when Grace was speaking, and also Kate was speaking. But then, you know, technology. So I tried with another gadget, it didn't work. I'm now on the phone at another planet, as you can see at my background. So I was just smiling, Jonathan, when you are doing this teaser of the quiz and looking at the questions and the answers. I think, sorry, I also missed maybe the part of the other speakers before me. But this is, for us, a very important moment. I was just counting the days. Today, we are 18. Initially, we thought actually the youth forum was supposed to start on the 18th. So if it was on the 18th, so it's only exactly 2 months now to the youth forum. So we are less than 3 months actually to both the conference and the youth forum. And I believe what we are doing today is very important for us as part of the final preparations for the event. Without emptying what the other speakers will be speaking, let me take this opportunity first to thank all of you for being here and saying that the conference is ours. The regional office or the regional team is only organizing it on our behalf. The other day we had a meeting with the Secretary General. He raised actually a very important perspective that we have not thought about it in the past, or usually we actually supervise the host country or the host NSOs. Now we are both the supervisor and the host. So that's the challenge that we are having. But one important thing here is that this conference is not going to be successful without the participation of the National Scout Association. So we are taking this opportunity really to call upon all of you and those who are here, and if you know that there are also National Scout Association who are missing in action, please tag them along so that we have a very successful regional conference comes August. There are a couple of things which has been also going on that we need to remind you, especially the representative of the National Scout Association, just to make the running of the conference very smooth. there are a couple of deadlines that we need to really stick to them. We're discussing early this morning on the vote on the rule of procedures. Definitely, as the circular stipulated, that the rule of procedures are actually adopted according to our current constitution at the opening of the conference. But we have also noticed there are a couple of things, if you don't adopt the rule of procedures before the opening of the conference, some of the issues or some of the policies or functions of the conference are going to be very difficult to implement. Some of them being like the setting up of the resolution committee, the follow-up on how the resolution is going to be taken, some of the discussion that we are going to be having today. So the committee has agreed that by the deadline last night, we only receive, we need to be transparent, we only receive 14 NSOs voting on the rule of procedures out of 40 NSOs. So we have not even reached yet the quorum to count the vote. So the committee has agreed after a quick consultation that we extend the deadline for the vote on the procedures up to Wednesday next week. So we'll be sending another reminder. Please, if you have not voted yet, because the rule of procedures are quite important for the conference, make sure that your NSO cast the ballot vote so that we can prepare the other functions of the conference. But also a reminder on other deadlines. As I said, the rule of procedures, we are within the framework because it has no hard deadline yet until the opening of the conference. But we wanted it to be done earlier so that we also well prepare for the conference. But the challenge that we will be having, I know, for instance, for those functions which have got constitutional deadline, for instance, submission of your candidate, if you have any, for the Africa Scout Committee, which comes, I think, by the end of this month. And if you have not done that, then that deadline cannot be extended. So see the reminder in the communication that's sent by the office. There are a number of deadlines that we need to really make sure that we got them right. So I think that will be on my part, asking for your really good collaboration so that we can have a successful event. And we are happy also to inform you that so far we have the confirmation of 30 NSOs, 30 out of 40. That's way beyond the quorum, which is half of the NSOs within the region. So comes August, we look forward to welcoming you in Nairobi for the conference. Jonathan, back to you, and wishing all of you very good exchange in this first webinar on the preparation for the conference. Back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Fred. And I see, Jacques, for your attention. There's a message on interpretation. We can work around that. Thank you so much. And at this point, let me now formally welcome our three dynamic facilitators for the session, Kathleen, Baskuda, and Emma, to take it up from here. And also, I'll be ushering in our co-hosts for the rest of the session, Grace and Callisto. So over to you, Kathleen and Tim.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. So just a reminder, our session is on drafting resolution and amendments. And you've heard from our great introductory speakers, our regional director, the chair of Africa Scout Committee, just how important resolutions and amendments are to the decision-making process in the Africa region. So myself and Baskuda and Emma will take you through the content as we go through the program today.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Hi, everyone. I think it's good afternoon or good evening from wherever you're joining us from. My name is Emma, and I'm coming in from the Global Support Center. And just like Kathleen mentioned, I will be co-facilitating this session with Pascuda and Kathleen as well. So I think from what has already been said in terms of introducing this session, I think we cannot speak more to that. I think the chair has already set the tone for the purpose of this session today, and also the call to action that has already been set by the regional director. So in terms of what we'll be looking to cover in today's session, so the objectives of this session are, one, we'll try to look at, what are some of the key deadlines that we are speaking of. I know the regional director has already mentioned some of that already. We will also look at, what are some of the considerations that are made when we are coming to drafting the resolutions and amendments as well. And then finally, we hope that, we will be able to do some practice around, drafting resolutions and amendments. Okay. I think maybe Kathleen, would you like to take us through and just to build up on what the regional director has talked about when it comes to the upcoming deadlines?
Absolutely. So as you can see on the screen here, there are a couple of really important deadlines that all of our NSOs and delegations need to keep in mind. You can see some of these dates are things that have already passed or already happened, such as the nomination for the Africa Scout Award and the African Elephant Award. So I'm going to take you through some of the deadlines that are coming up later on, and I'm going to highlight those that are particularly important. So coming up in just a few days' time, on the 23rd of June, is the deadline for submitting study papers for discussion at the conference. And a few days after that, on the 28th of June, is a really important deadline if you're planning to run for election to the Africa Scout Committee, because it's the close of nominations for that position. Then on the 30th of June, we have 3 deadlines falling all together in one place. The online registration of participants, the deadline for bids to be sent to host upcoming regional events, and submitting of expression of interest for those who would like to exhibit at the conference. So those 3 are all together on the 30th of June. That's the end of this month. We have another deadline then on the 16th of July. Not so much a deadline, but that's the date for our next preparatory meeting. And again, we'll have a preparatory meeting on the 13th of August. Also on the 13th of August, one more set of deadlines. All of our delegates should, by the 13th of August, have completed our WASM Safe from Harm e-learning course, so that we can make sure we are all safe from harm at our conference and youth forum. All NSOs should have sent in their draft proposed amendments to the Constitution. Now, the amendments proposed by the Africa Scout Committee have already been sent out by circular. So further amendments to those proposed changes or any new amendments to the Constitution must be sent in by the 13th of August. And the same deadline applies to any proposed amendments to the rules of procedure, which also have already been sent out by circular to the NSOs in the Africa region. Maybe just one note, you're seeing here the specific deadlines for the conference activities. You're not seeing here deadlines for youth forum activities. Those will be sent out by circular separately, along with a number of other pieces of information in the course of the next week or so.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. I think I see Fred has his hand up. Yes, Fred.
Thank you, Emma. Emma, just to thank Kathleen on that good presentation, but also clarified about the deadline on submission of constitution amendment. Our constitution stipulates that any proposed constitutional amendment need to be circulated at least 3 months ahead of the conference, the opening day of the conference. So as of now, the 3 months have already elapsed. The amendment that we are looking now is the proposed amendment by the Africa Scout Committee, and any modification or any amendment to the proposed amendment that can be submitted. So we are no longer welcoming any proposed amendment to the Constitution except those who have been circulated, but we are still looking forward that NSOs might comment or propose few changes or few tweaks to the proposed amendment by the Africa Scout Committee. Just that clarification. Thank you, Emma.
Well, thank you so much, Fred. And I would ask that you keep that eye very open throughout this presentation so that we ensure that all dates and any deadlines that needs to be captured are well captured for everyone. So moving forward now, let's try and look at what are some of the considerations that we need to put in place or make whenever we are doing a drafting of resolutions. Yeah. So the first consideration is around purpose. So when you talk about purpose, we are referring to the purpose of the resolution. And in this case, we need to ensure that the draft resolution that we are making is in line with the purpose and the vision of WUSUM. The next consideration is around policy. When it comes to policy here, we're talking about, ensuring the draft resolution that you're making deals with a matter of or policy affecting WUSUM, and if it will be possible for the regional committee or the bureau itself to be able to implement it as well. The next item is around the scope. So when it comes to the scope of drafting resolutions, here we need to look at, will the committee be able to give effect to the particular draft resolution that you will be making? We also need to consider what are some of the resources that are needed to implement the particular draft resolution with the regional office and the WUSUM resources, to what extent we will need will we need the human resources and the WUSUM resources to be able to implement the draft resolutions as well. And then lastly, still under the scope, it's important to consider that, for the NSOs as well, will it be possible for them to implement the particular resolution that we are proposing. Also, we cannot fail to mention the aspect of historical. And in this case, we are talking about, are there other decisions, historical decisions and proposals that have been made already taking into consideration in this drafting of the particular resolution as well. Okay, maybe Kathleen, if we can move on. Okay, thank you. So now when it comes to the drafting of the resolution, in this case, there are two main aspects to consider here. One is the aspect of language, and two is the aspect of structure. When you talk about language, as you all know here, we are talking about which language do we use to submit the draft resolution. And in this case, it's going to be in English or in French. Something else when it comes to the language is about ensuring that that the language we're using is very understandable. Let's use short sentences, basic words, and clear description. And this is to ensure that we're being as inclusive as possible and in consideration of the different languages that people are speaking within our region as well. Moving on to structure, what are we talking about here? So when it comes to the structure, a resolution has three main parts. One is a part that is on the heading, and the next part is the preambulatory clause, or if you may say the preamble. And then we have a third part now, which is the operative clauses. So in drafting your resolution, you will have three main parts. You will have a title, you will have a preamble section, and you will have the operative clauses that will be looking to introduce the matters of which the resolution is all about. Okay. I think maybe even before we get into the structure of how to draft resolutions, maybe we can just try and look at, what are some of the resolutions you're talking about? What are some of the things that perhaps, you may submit as, proposals for consideration by the conference. Kathleen, would you like to take us through what these are?
Great, thanks, Emma. So you'll see up on the screen, there are a few different types of resolution that we have here. The first is a resolution of general policy and standards of scouting. Now, this kind of resolution is passed by a simple majority. So the majority of attendees or delegates to the Africa Scout Conference agree with the resolution, then it will pass. And it should be submitted 2 months before the opening of the Africa Scout Conference. So an example of a general policy or standard of scouting resolution would be something along the lines of a resolution relating to the structure or a specific policy or a specific point that we would like to emphasize within our movement or within the Africa region. So for example, a resolution of general policy could be have to do with, for example, the implementation of safe from harm within the Africa region. That's a good example of that. Then we have amendments to the Constitution. Now, we've touched on these already a little bit today. These are amendments to the Constitution of the Africa region, and they have a much longer timeline for submission to the Africa Scout Committee and to the remainder of the region. They require a 2/3 majority to pass. That means 66% at least of NSOs must agree to that amendment in order for it to pass. And you should have seen this circular with the proposed constitutional amendments already. An example of those amendments, there were some changes to wording from host NSO to host, for example, or to include virtual mechanisms for engagement. These are amendments to our regional constitution. We then have amendments to draft resolutions. This means another NSO has proposed and seconded a draft resolution, or not just an NSO, it could also be proposed by the Africa Scout Committee or proposed by the Youth Forum. You may submit an amendment to that draft resolution. So for example, someone submits a resolution, you don't like the wording, you think it's not clear, there's a point that you wish to alter, you may submit a proposed amendment to that draft resolution 36 hours before the voting session for conference resolutions. And then that amendment will be voted on, and then the draft resolution will be voted on. So if your amendment passes, then the resolution will be voted on as per your amendment. And if your amendment fails, the resolution will be voted on without your proposed amendment. And finally, we have resolutions of amendments to the rules of procedure. This also is passed by a simple majority, so at least 50% of National Scout organizations present. And as we specified earlier, they should be submitted before the conference at least 2 months in advance.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. I think that was a very good presentation. If maybe we can move on to the next slide and then maybe come back to this one.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So in this slide, we will be looking at, what is the structure of a draft resolution, what is contained in a draft resolution. So before Kathleen shared with us some of the resolutions that we may potentially be seeking to make, we talked about the structure of a draft resolution, and we said it's in 3 parts. And the first part is a heading. The next part is the preambulatory clause. And then we have a third part that is normally the operative section. So we will take a bit of time to look at what each of the 3 parts is all about. So the draft resolution title, or the heading, if you may, this essentially is to capture, what is the aim of the resolution? What is it that you're trying to achieve by this particular resolution? So for instance, in this case, there's an example of a youth involvement policy, for instance. So the resolution in this case is on youth involvement. It may be something different. For instance, safe from harm. It may be in relation to adults in scouting. It may be in relation to youth programs. So it can be anything at this point in time, but your title needs to capture clearly what your aim or objective of the resolution is. The next part, which is the preamble or the introduction of the resolution, this closes, it's all about stating what are the issues requiring resolution. Yeah, so why are you trying to apply, or why are you trying to make the particular resolution in this case? Yeah, essentially, for instance, what happens is that at this point in time is that we have specific words that you can use to present your preamble. So you will see there words such as, recognizing that, noting that. So at this point in time, you're mainly trying to capture the issues that will give a lot of, a substance to your resolution. So for instance, in this case, around the example that we have on the youth involvement policy, there's this particular example talking about recognizing the value of involving and including young people in decision-making for achieving the purpose of scouting. So it's basically trying to explain the aim of the resolution that you're bringing forth. So going forward in another example, For instance, noting the findings and conclusion of the assessment report of the World Scout Youth Forum and Youth Advisor System, which concludes that more work needs to be done. So this essentially, is trying to, bring out the issues that you're trying to bring forth in this resolution at this point in time. What is interesting about this part of the preamble is that each of the points that you're trying to make in each of the clauses are normally separated by a comma. So you will see that each of the points that is made here is separated by a comma, and words such as, noting, observing, being aware of, believing in, are used to introduce this part of the preamble as well. And then it's important that you always ensure that, the issues that you're bringing ahead, one, they capture some of the previous international actions that have been addressed on this area, or any other previous work that has already been captured in the area of the draft resolution that you are attempting to bring forth. When we move on, Kathleen. Maybe we can move
Sorry,
to the
just
next.
to check, do you want me to move to the slide with the wording or the
Let's move to the next one, and then we'll come back to that one. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, so this one is just a continuation of that one, and it's mainly the last bit of the structure, and it's about the operative clauses. So in this case, you'll be using clauses that are mainly to talk about the solutions that you want to propose in your resolution. Yeah, so the operative clauses should, try to address some of the issues, and be very specific about what you want to address in the resolution. So in this case, if you're trying to make a request, then you have to, be very clear about the request that you want to make. If you're trying to urge, people to do a certain action, you have to be very clear about the action that you're seeking people to engage on. So if it's a recommendation, be very clear about the recommendation that you're bringing forth as well. And in this case, unlike the preamble clauses, the clauses in this section are normally separated by semicolons as well. And just like I mentioned, some of the words that you will be using to introduce the clauses under the operative section are words such as, adopt, urge, recommend, words that are, trying to bring forth the issues that, are the call to action that you're trying to address with presenting the draft resolution as well. So maybe Kathleen, we can go back to that slide and see some of these words that, will help us, try and bring out the draft proposal that we are trying to address. So in the preamble, for instance, you're trying to look at words such as, affirming, being fully aware, fully believing, guided by. So many words here that you can actually use to introduce the preamble. And it's a bit different when you look at the operative section of this, words such as accept, there are words that are very decisive, accepting, affirming, approving, recommending, requesting. So these are words that are moving towards, making a call to action as well, while the preamble talks of words that are trying to give much more clarity or give much more, information with regards to the resolution that you're trying to bring forth as well. Okay.
So Emma, can I ask if I'm right? I'm going to try and put it in some simple words.
Yes, go
so
ahead.
I'm writing a resolution. It needs to have a title so that everyone knows what my resolution is talking about. Then it needs to have a preamble, and my preamble is telling people either the background around my issue and why. What's the reason why this resolution is important, why we need to do this thing.
Exactly.
And then we have the operative part, which says what we should do.
Yes, you're giving us a call to action, what it is that you want us to address, yeah? What it is that you want us to achieve. What are you asking them, the regional the regional support center to do? Is it the World Scout Committee? What are you asking them to do? Is it the NSOs? What would you like them to do? Is it the movement at large? What would you want us to achieve? So for instance, you talked about safe from harm previously. So in this case, of course, you would have an introduction, a heading that of course would capture, the title, which is a safe from harm. For instance, it can be the safe from harm policy. And then you would move to the introduction of that, where you'll try to capture what are some of the different ideas, the different things that have already been addressed before. What are some of the historical information that we have around this? And then you will now move to tell us, okay, under safe from harm, this is what I'm urging you to do. So is it something that is specific for the regional office? Is it something that is specific for the World Scout Committee? Is it something that is specific for, the different stakeholders that you're seeking to address using that particular resolution? Yeah. I don't know if we have any more questions at this point in time. I think it would be interesting to hear. Yes, Fred.
Thank you, Emma. It is not a question, it's actually a clarification. Just to put in the context, just we know that the regional conference purpose is to try to domesticate the world policies to the regional level. But it could also be, and we have seen it in the past, where a region would like to propose something to be considered by the world level. So in that case, and here it's a good example, so it will be like the conference recommend the region to propose to the World Conference or to propose to the World Scout Committee, because the region cannot decide on something which is going to affect WUSUM as a whole, can only recommend to the right body or the right instance to take it forward or to submit it to the right body to be considered into that. So that also, I think, is a framework that we also need to consider here, that whatever we decide or we propose is mostly for the region, but if it's about the entire movement, then it is a recommendation for further action by the conference or by the Africa Scout Committee, so that it's submitted either to the next World Scout Conference or to the World Scout Committee for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fred. I think that's very good insight in terms of, trying to ensure that, the resolution that we're making is addressing, which particular conference. Thank you so much. Kathleen, would you like to do some work around seeing whether we are able to draft some resolutions?
I think that's a great idea. So I believe the best way to learn how to write a resolution is to give it a try. So we've given some background now. We've spoken about how to construct a resolution. Now we want to give you an example of what you'd like to do. So there is a template which says it should be proposed and seconded. So it should be proposed by an NSO, seconded by another NSO. We should say why we want to do this resolution and the text of the resolution in the format that Emma has explained. So according to our format, which you can see here, your format would say proposer, for example, Kenya Scout Association. And your seconder would be, for example, Namibia's Scout Association. And you would have your explanation or justification in this first top block here. You would have the title of your draft resolution. And then in the block below, you would have your draft resolution. So we've given you an example, and I know we've got people who are working in English and people who are working in French. So we would like you to try and draft a resolution proposing that the number of Africa Scout Committee members should change from 8 to 10. And it's a practical example, so we'd like you to work on it in groups and get a little bit of practice in according to this example.
That's correct, Kathleen. So I have a question. Does it mean that before we submit our proposed resolution, we have to ensure that somebody else or another NSO seconds it?
Ideally, you should always propose a resolution and have a seconder when that resolution is sent in. This means that you should be networking or communicating with other NSOs within the region to make sure that you're not the only person who has a specific opinion or proposal, that there is some support for the resolution, and enough support to take it to be put to vote.
Thank you very much. I think then at this point in time, Jonathan, would you like to send us out to the breakout sessions?
Okay, so you want us to do two groups?
I think we can do 2 groups.
Okay.
One English and then another one for the French speakers. And I think Pascuda can, do some support for the French speaking.
Okay.
So colleagues, feel free to join a breakout session. For those speaking in English, you can join the English room. For those speaking French, please join the French room. And Baskuda, you can join the French, and Kathleen, feel free to join either. I will join the English session. I'm excited to hear how it went in your breakout sessions. It would be nice to just capture some of those interesting conversations that you had in the breakout. Let me maybe just ask for a quick comment, Kathleen. How was the resolution? How was it drafting a resolution around changing the membership from 8 to 10 for the Africa Scout Committee? Just a quick, comment from participants, and it can come from any of the two groups before we get back to reporting back in plenary what were some of those exciting conversations that we had. Anybody, please share how that went. Okay, maybe Kathleen, I can do a bit of reporting on how ours went. Okay, great. I see we have two hands. I see Leonilde and I see Alexandra. So Leonilde, and then we can hear from Alexandra.
Thank you. So this is Leonilde from Cabo Verde. It was a good experience. Normally, we don't know. I personally, I didn't know that a lot of work was supposed to be done. Because for this specific example, we might need to, there's a lot of changes that if you want to change this small particular thing, so this might change the whole, so it might go to the global level. So we should be attentive on what we are proposing. So That's I think this is the main thing that I can say for now.
Thank you so much. And also to mention that, you know, there's going to be a resolutions committee that would normally support you in the drafting of the particular resolutions as well. Let's hear from Alexandra.
Ok, bonjour à toutes et à tous. Alors, je veux juste partager mes impressions concernant l'activité qu'on a fait tantôt, parce que je vois déjà que c'est très important pour nous qui sommes actuellement en ligne, parce que ça nous a permis déjà, bien vrai qu'on a vu le document et tout, mais avec ce travail collaboratif, ça nous a permis d'être en tout cas beaucoup plus pertinent et de voir que ce qui est demandé, les résolutions, c'est pas des trucs à bâcler, mais ça demande une pertinence, ça demande une réalité, voilà, de ce que vit soit l'OSN ou bien la région et tout, avant de proposer une résolution. Et ça demande aussi comment le dire même, ça demande en tout cas un réseautage, voilà, pour pouvoir soumettre cette résolution, mais aussi pour que ça puisse être validé. Et cela, nous l'avons appris grâce à monsieur le chef Frédéric Kamakama, mais aussi grâce aux autres membres qui étaient dans le groupe. Et c'était vraiment pertinent. Voilà. Merci.
Yeah. So briefly, he said that you have learned a lot about how to write a resolution. He said that the resolution, the process of drafting a resolution is very important. You have to be focused and concentrated to understand all the impact that the resolution will have. And he also written that we need to have a network, because when you have to write a resolution, you have to do networking with other people. And he also he's also very happy of the help of Fred and other people during the exercise. He has learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. I think it's reflections that I think can be shared by everybody else. Maybe in the interest of time, I'm gonna take one more from Victor, and then maybe we can move to the next part of this. Victor?
Thank you, Emma. I just want to appreciate the process. We see that we all had the time to actually understand the right processes of how these resolutions are framed and are amended and are pushed out. So when we are in the conference, it gives NSOs the ability to come prepared in terms of having a motion to give as a resolution. It helps NSOs to interact much more easier with other NSOs, because sometimes you really want to push an agenda, but you don't even know how to go about it. But this exercise gives us a lot of precedence in getting ready, and then it makes the work of the resolution committee much more easier in terms of how to finalize these documents, because the draft that is sent to them is already almost ready. So it becomes easier to just fine tune it, just cross the T's and dot the I's, and it gives us much ease of getting much fluidity of the whole experience. And I'm very glad that we all had a chance to actually go through this. And I'm encouraging that we still would have the chance to practice this even back at home with certain decisions and certain thoughts we have as NSO or delegations before we even come to the conference. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Victor. I think you really put it very well that, you know, drafting resolution is the core of, you know, everything else that, you know, the governing body, which is the conference, does. So it's very vital that you ensure that, you know, we draft resolutions that are proper, we get all the support that we need so that we are able to ensure that our resolutions are captured in the right way. So I think in the interest of time, I will move on to the last bit, and then we will come back to hear some of the reflections that we had in terms of drafting the resolutions. I would like us, maybe Kathleen, to just look at, you know, the last bit that talks about making amendments to the draft resolutions. because I know that's a key part when it comes to where we're at right now in terms of the timeline that we have.
Seems Kathleen dropped off, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Just a moment.
There's a comment also on the chat on the interpretation. Jacques, if you can check into that.
I think in the meantime, while I get the PowerPoint up, maybe we can hear from one of the groups in terms of what were some of the clauses that you came up with when writing down the justification. Maybe we can hear from the English team. Would anyone like to present the justification that you made? Okay.
This is Joel Moyo.
Yes, go ahead, Joel.
From Zambia. Yes, before I go on to the justification, I wanted to make mention of what you said in your presentation on resolutions. There was one key thing that you
I think we lost Joel.
said that resolution, you do not want it to be misunderstood. It must be understood clearly. That means it must be vivid. And of course, indeed, resolutions should not have words that really do not carry an action out of it. So yes, the justification for increasing the numbers, we did say that the conference resolves that the numbers of the membership to the Africa Committee be increased from 8 to 10. And of course, the justification was given. A colleague from Mauritius did just fine that we have about 40 Scout associations, and unless we increase, we may not be able to share, to cover the whole region, Africa region, with representative. It was the 8 just fall out. Because if you look at the ratio, if we have 40, if you look at the ratio, it will be now 4, at least 4 National Scout associations to 1, and that makes it a proper representation and division. At the same time, there was also a suggestion that you see, the 10 will give a proper analysis of the situation, situations that happen in the different zones within the Africa region, because they will be scattered around the Africa region, and that there will be participation of everyone, not only much attention from only one area, because the others do not have a representation of African. I think there could have been others, but that one, there was two, to me, definitely we need to resolve that we include.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to give 30 seconds to the French group to just say one quick close when it comes to the justification, and the last bit on the operative part. Which words did you use to be able to close the resolution with? Yeah.
For the French group, so I did just put it on the chat, so in order to be easier for the translator. So, vu le nombre grandissant des océans dans la région, donc je sais pas comment dire, j'ai oublié comment dire ça en anglais. Mais en tout cas, c'est due to the large number of organizations on the region, and then the other, considering a lot of candidatures people are applying for the committee. So we consider this can be the motives or the reasons why we should change this.
Great, sounds great. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, both teams. I think that has been a very engaging and interesting session. I hope that it was helpful in terms of, making the draft resolution. So going forward, Jonathan, maybe we can move to the next slide so that we're able to wrap up this within a short time. So this next part is about, amending the draft resolutions. And I think this is where we're at in terms of our timeline of submitting within the Africa region in terms of submitting the resolution. So in this case, what are some of the amendments, for instance, that you'd like to make to the draft resolution? So I think this is very critical as well. So the considerations are much more or less the same with what we've seen before. One, it should, in this case, it should ensure that you're relating to the draft resolution topic that has already been submitted. So any amendment that you're making to the draft resolution, it should not depart from the topic that has already been shared before. Yeah, then it should also not change the subject matter of the draft resolution. So if you're seeking to amend an existing or an already drafted resolution, it has to be within the subject matter as well. Then the considerations that we also talked about in the previous part should also be captured as well in these particular amendments as well. Then again, it should be of substance. Yeah, it has to address a major or a material issue. And then it should not be in terms of, correcting spelling or grammatical errors. So in case you submit such a draft resolution, the resolutions committee will not consider it to be put forward to the conference as well. And the language, just like we mentioned before, should either be in English or in French as well. And most importantly, just like it has been mentioned before, always be on the lookout for the timeline that has already been placed in terms of submitting the amendments to the draft resolutions as well. In closing, if maybe we can move to the next part, Jonathan. Yeah, okay. So essentially that would be it. I think we've tried to capture as much as possible of, drafting resolutions and amendments as well. If there are no questions on the floor, I would like to hand over back to the team that has, been very gracious to host us, and Jonathan, if you may.
Thank you so much. Let me give this to Callisto to take it over. Cal?
Thank you, Jonathan, and much appreciation to Emma, Kathleen, and Baskuda for leading us in that session. I'm sure we are way better than when we joined this session today, and we clearly understand the process and how we can, do this going forward. So at this point, I'd like to bring in Nelson to just help us with some announcements and key things to look out for. Nelson?
Thank you very much, Callisto. So I'll briefly just share with you a couple of announcements, really things that we feel that as we continue to prepare to come to the conference, we should, pay keen attention to. And a number of them are also just updates on information that has been sent your way, and others that you need to look out for in the coming days. So far, we have released 6 circulars on the conference, and each of them came with a different set of information. The first one was about the invitation to the forum and the conference, and that circular also came with the draft agenda. So just for you to look at what the agenda that has been proposed. And then the second circular was on the notice of expiry of terms of office for the Africa Scout Committee members and call for nominations. The third was on the call for nominations for the Africa Scout Award and the Africa Elephant Award. And then the other one was on the invitation of bids to host upcoming regional events. And then followed by one on the referendum on the conference rules of procedure. And then the most recent one was on the proposed amendments to the Africa Scout Committee by the to the Africa Scout Constitution by the Africa Scout Committee. So these are documents that you have, and we continuously encourage you to look at these documents as you prepare to come to the event. Some of the deadlines have already passed. Just yesterday, we closed the voting on the rules of procedure, and also the timeline for submission of the nominations for the Africa Scout Award and Africa Elephant Award also elapsed this week. And then earlier on, we had asked you to submit intent of participation forms and appointment of heads of contingents. And just to reiterate that if any of your NSOs did not submit this, I think we're still open to receive that. Some of the timelines to really look out for in the coming days. This month of June is really packed with quite a number of timelines. One of them is the call for any papers for discussion at the conference. And then that's for the 23rd, scheduled for the 23rd. On the 28th of June, we have the deadline for the nomination of candidates for election to the Africa Scout Committee. So if your NSO is interested in nominating anyone, then you have the next 10 days to do so. And then by the 30th of June, we are also requesting all NSOs to complete the online registration of participants, which information you are provided with in one of the circulars that I've just talked about. And then together with that, the registration platform or form also provides details of how you can make payments to, for your delegation's participation fees. Please note that registration will only be confirmed upon payment of fees. And it's at that point, once the fees have been paid, that you'll also receive a letter of invitation to the conference. And then by 30th of June, all NSOs intending to host upcoming regional events are required to submit, to have submitted their bids. So please take note of that. And then the same time is, the same day is the submission of expression of interest to exhibit at the conference. One of the teams is working on coordinating all exhibition side events at the conference. And if your NSO is interested in making an exhibition, then you have up to that day. And then just like we have had this preparatory meeting, we have a series of 3 of them are planned in the coming, in the lead up to the conference. And the next one is going to be on the 16th of July. And the focus will be on something else. This one was mainly on drafting resolutions. And then on the 13th of, or by the 13th of August, we're also encouraging all of us to have completed the WASM Safe from Harm e-learning course. Please note that there will be no admission to the conference without completion of the Safe from Harm e-learning course. This is a mandatory requirement for all people attending the conference, whether delegates or observers, or even visitors. So all of us are required to comply with this just to ensure that we have a safe event for all of us. And then the last of the 3-part series of the conference preparatory sessions is going to happen on the 30th of August. And then just also a few other things to note is that the venue for the Youth Forum will be at the Don Bosco Youth Educational Services Center in Karen, Nairobi. And then the venue for the conference will be at the KCB Leadership Center, also in Karen. So for those of you who have been to Nairobi, Karen is more towards the southern part of Nairobi. And the 2 venues are really not far from each other. So in the course of the month, you're also going to be receiving a bit more information on those 2 venues. And then we have partnered with Kenya Airways to grant between 10 to 20% discount off all airfares for tickets booked on Kenya Airways. That's coming into and out of Nairobi for during the period of the the conference. So for you to book, if you want to enjoy that, please, there is that code AFSC 2022 that you can use. But again, we also circulated on our social media channels a direct link to the Kenya Airways website where you can make a booking directly. But also in the course of the month, we're also going to circulate that again to you. So that's an encouragement and for you to start planning your journey early and enjoy that discount. I'm sure 10 to 20% really will make quite a big difference on the pricing of the tickets. And then on the 26th of August, in the sidelines of the conference, we're also going to be hosting the Africa Scout Foundation Investor Forum. And this is basically an open invitation to all of us to join the foundation and support in growing and sustaining our movement. I've talked about the Safe from Harm e-learning, and one of the things we launched a few days back is we want that by the time we are closing the conference, at least 10,000 people have taken the Safe from Harm e-learning course. And these are not just participants to the conference and the youth forum, but generally across our NSOs. So we are requesting your support here to reach out to and encourage your volunteers to take the Wasn't Safe from Harm e-learning course. It's not just about taking the course, but really the most important thing is understanding that we all have a responsibility to ensure that we make Scouting a safe place for both adults and young people participating. And then just some heads up, some information you should look out for by the end of this month is we are going to provide you a bit more information on the conference and the youth forum venue alongside the different options for accommodation that are available not far from the venue. And then you'll also receive other travel and visa related information just to assist you with the process of planning your trip to Nairobi. You'll also receive information on airport transfers and other logistical arrangements, as well as health and safety protocols. Please let's remember that though the cases may have gone down and measures relaxed a bit, COVID is still with us. So we are making a lot of effort to ensure that the event is actually a safe event. You'll also receive a lot of more information about the youth forum. Just to create some fun, we're also organizing a dance challenge, and we'll circulate around a bit and encourage you guys to show us your best moves. And then we'll make a compilation of that and yeah, have some fun moments watching them at the conference. And then also a bit more information on the Safe from Harm procedures and the code of conduct that all of us will be required to adhere to. That will be coming your way also, as well as how to become a member of the foundation. And if you want to be recognized at the conference, this is your moment for you to either join as a new member or upgrade. And then you'll also receive information on accompanying persons program. Those of you who have people accompanying you to the event, we planned a series of activities they can engage in, but even you as a conference or youth forum delegates or participants, you can enjoy the same activities either before or after the events. And again, we launched a conference website a couple of weeks ago, but that website with a lot more information. So you should also be able to access a bit more information on the site in the coming month. Yeah, otherwise that's it. Thank you very much. Those are just key updates. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and we see how best we can support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nelson. That's much appreciated. I know we are now in a better place with all that information. So just to ask for your patience, the session will extend with a few more minutes than the anticipated time that we set out to end it. So we ask for your patience so that we can finish this together. At this point, I'll bring in Jonathan, just also to see how much have we learned in this session. Jonathan?
Okay, we are ready for the second round of the Zoom poll. Okay, let's do this, Maurice. Okay, just a few seconds before the first question pops up. Okay, there we are. What is the theme of the 18th Africa Scout Conference? What is the theme of the 18th Africa Scout Conference? Is it shaping connected futures? Is it connecting the world? Or is it bridging the world? In 5, 4, okay, some answers are still coming in. I see 7 have already answered, 8, 10, 11, they're trickling in. And I see we are almost going to set the record here that, okay, the record is about to be set. A record is about to be set here. This is the first question that has in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we have the record that this is the first question that has 100% responding with the correct answer, that the theme is shaping connected features. Wow, so happy for that record being set. Next question. Which is the highest decision-making organ for scouting in Africa? Which is the highest decision-making organ for scouting in Africa? Is it the Africa Scout Committee? Is it the Africa Scout Conference? Or is it the World Scout Bureau? Okay, here, the good news or the bad news, there's no new record now. The answers are split, so no record here. I see 16 have already responded, 17. A few more to respond. So we can close this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 59% of us are correct. The highest decision-making organ for scouting in Africa is the Africa Scout Conference. And we were trying to attempt to do some resolutions on this. Okay, next question. How many Africa Scout Committee members are elected in each conference? How many Africa Scout Committee members are elected in each conference? Is it 4? Is it 5? Or is it 6? Okay, we will also not have a record here. Yes, let's keep responding. A few more answers. 13, let's keep responding. We have 13, 14, yes, the number is going up, which is good. 15. And we end this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is 4. So 73% of us are correct. On to the next question. Which of the following is not the role of the Africa Scout Conference? Which of the following is not the role of the Africa Scout Conference? Is it adoption of conference resolutions? Is it appointment of the chairperson of the Africa Scout Committee? Or is it adoption of the regional training plan? Which of the following is not the role of the Africa Scout Conference? Okay, we end this in about 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, and the correct answer is got by 86% of us. It is not the role of the conference to appoint the chairperson of the Africa Scout Committee. Okay, next question. What is the current number of youth advisors to the Africa Scout Committee? What is the current number of youth advisors to the Africa Scout Committee? Is it 5? Is it 7? Or is it 6? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is 6. So 57% of us are correct. Okay. Let's see the next question. And this is a bonus question for you. Are you attending the Africa Scout Conference? Let's see. Who is coming for the conference? Who's coming to Nairobi for the conference? Oh, I see we are going to make a record here also. Yeah, so Nairobi is waiting for you. Let's see who is coming to Nairobi for the conference. We can end this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are happy that 100% of you are coming to Nairobi for the conference. This is another record. So bravo, see you in Nairobi. But for now, back to you, Callisto.
Thank you, Jonathan. And it's exciting how much knowledge we have about the conference, but also the learning that we are having in this session today. And with that, just happy with the last question that 100% of us will be in Nairobi. So looking forward to, having you all in Nairobi. At this point, as you prepare to come to Nairobi, I know you must be having a number of questions about the conference. So this is the time. If you have any question, we'll have an open session right now, which will be led by Mary. So Mary, welcome.
Thank you, Callisto. And thank you everyone for attending this session. It has really been good. So we have an opportunity to ask questions, and the questions can be about the session we had today, or generally about the conference. So the floor is yours. Go ahead, ask any question you may have regarding the conference, and we are happy to answer. So let's see. You can type it on the chat, or you can just raise your hand. As we wait for the questions to come, I'd like to ask Jonathan one question. Jonathan, what session are you looking forward to during the conference?
Oh, I love ceremonies, so I'm looking forward to the opening ceremony. I'm looking forward to a cultural evening, and I'm looking forward to the closing ceremony.
Oh, that is that is interesting. I'm sure you're looking forward to the closing ceremony because at that point it will be a sense of accomplishment and relief for what we would have gained or done during the conference. Have you spotted any questions somewhere?
So far, I don't see any question. It seems that we are all happy with the announcements and with the inputs this far.
Yeah, so thank you so much. You are still free to ask any questions. You can even send emails or anytime we have a session, just keep your questions coming. We are ready to answer them. As you can see, the method that we are adapting during this conference is to prepare early in advance so that we can do a lot before the conference. And during the conference floor, we can at least minimize the time we spend in deliberations, in preparations, and so that it can be a little bit easier to understand our roles and what we need to do. So thank you. I think I wouldn't have any questions, but looking forward to seeing all of you. So feel free to send us any questions. For the coming series, we are going to focus on the constitutional amendments that has been shared with you already. So that is also another session to look out for. And one of the questions that Jonathan was asking, which is the highest decision-making body for the organ, which is the Africa SCAR Conference. So you are the guys that are going to make those high decisions. If you say no, it's no. If you say yes, it's yes. Whatever resolutions, recommendations you bring to the floor are deliberated. If they pass, our role is to implement. So you have such an important role, and that is why we prepare this session to prepare you. So be on the lookout for the next session. We hope to get more participation for the next session. And as well, if you have learned something, pass this to the delegation that is coming with you from your NSO. And please let them participate in the next session. Thank you, Callisto. And back to you because I don't see any question.
Thank you. That might mean that we've done a good job today, or they're still thinking about it, and maybe next time we'll have more questions. But thank you to you, Mary. And special thanks to everyone for finding time to join today. From the guests that we have, the facilitators, the Safe From Harm team behind the scenes, and the interpreters. So thank you so much to everyone. But as Maria said, we expect more of you to join the next session. And the trick is, before you join in next time, pull in your neighboring NSO. Don't leave them behind, or even the whole zone. Make sure that your zone is here next time that we meet for the next session on the 16th of July. So with that, thank you for your patience, and we appreciate your time today. See you on the 16th of July. Have a good evening.